Barry battle number 4, and for that one we're going to have Vaporeon in the lead since Ice Beam is super effective against Staravia. Barry always seems to lead with that thing, so, well, at least it increases the degree of predictability a bit. And, okay, don't even start mentioning plowing into people. I still have nightmares about that rich boy plowing into 5 maids at the same time. But anyway, one thing that sucks about this battle is that Barry's levels are high enough that he could have evolved all of his Pokemon to their final forms by now, such as Staravia, which is supposed to evolve at level 34, but none of them are final forms. Well, his loss, I'm just gonna trample him that much easier. So Ice Beam, of course, is gonna get the one-hit KO because Staravia was never known for its defensive prowess. Level up for Vaporeon, 48. And it's catching up with Torterra, which is at 50. Roselia, I'm going to go with Togetic since I don't want to risk having to take a super effective attack, whereas Togetic can just burn it down with Flamethrower or use Fly, but I'm going to go with Flamethrower because I'm not sure if that Roselia's particular ability could be a poison point, and I don't want to take unnecessary poison. That and Togetic's special attack is just higher. So there we go. Roselia's down, so Monferno's next. I'm going to keep Togetic in and beat it with Fly, because I'm not sure Water Gun is going to be enough to kill it, because it only has 40 power, and even though Togetic's attack is nothing to gawk at, we're still using a 90 power attack with Stab here, so should be enough to make the difference. And yeah, here we go. His Fire Monkey's dead! And by the way, as I said earlier, his Monferno's level 36, and at that point, it should be an Infernape by now. Goddamn, this guy sucks. Anyway, Vaporeon's going to be taking on his last Pokemon, which is Weasel. And I'm going to go with Bite here, because Water Gun and Ice Beam aren't going to do too much. Though Bite here, it's really filler for now. I'm going to replace it with Shadow Ball once I get the TM on Route 210, but for now I have to make do with Bite, which, well, it's okay. 2-hit KO is a lot of stuff. It's not a 1-hit KO, but then again, I'm not expecting to 1-hit KO that Weasel otherwise. I could resort to Torterra, but its level is still much higher than everything else, so I'm not going to bother with that for now. Yeah, I got beat because I was careless. Try evolving your Pokemon next time. All 4 of them could be final forms by now. You would be a lot more of a pain in the ass if you were actually competent. Anyway, moving on to gym number 5, the one from Crasher Wake. And by the way, this thing about, Wake, no, I mean Crasher Wake. It seems to be a recurring theme in this gym, and I don't know why. Is it supposed to be a joke? Is it supposed to be funny? If so, then what's the joke? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Or maybe it's just something really stupid that the writers decided to throw in there, but still, makes no sense at all. Anyway, the puzzle for this gym is that you gotta use switches to make the water level go up and down, and you gotta go through trainers as well. This one's optional, I think, but there are other underlings that you're forced to fight. And yeah, I'm gonna be honest here, I don't really mind this gym. Oh yeah, young. Well, at least if I kill that Bibarel by the end of this turn, there we go. I'm not gonna fall asleep because that's the only Pokemon this particular underling has. But yeah, although it reminds me a lot of the Water Temple, it's really not the same thing at all. It's a lot less irritating because, well, there's running all over the place like in the Water Temple, but it's not nearly as aggravating. Okay, here we got it. Dead ends, I guess. The thing is that it's fairly linear despite how complicated it seems to be. It probably was more complicated to actually design this place than to actually go through it. those places where you have to make the water level go up and down, like even the water temple, it must have been really difficult to design, putting some stuff at some point where you won't get stuck and stuff like that. I don't really know if you understand what I mean, but that doesn't seem like the kind of place that's easy to design. But this place here, this gym, is fairly linear. It's magnitude 7, by the way, and 70 power. Yeah, it's fairly linear, so it's really not that hard. There's always only 2 or 3 switches you can press at any one time, and it's always fairly obvious which one it is, too. And by the way, no, you can't drown any of the trainers in this gym, because, well, that's another thing. They gotta put underlings in that place, but they also gotta make sure that none of the underlings would end up being underwater at any point during the gym. So that's another reason why it seems to be rather hard to design. Anyway, water gyms, they're always sort of tricky to deal with because water is a very, very good type. Not even considering the current drizzle shitstorm we're going through right now, water has always been a very, very good type because it's got excellent neutral coverage and it's also a very, very overpopulated type. Seriously, there are so many more water types than everything else in the game except maybe normal. Haven't seen the numbers for Generation 5. But yeah, there are lots of water types, so there's lots of competition for a team slot. And so even really good Pokemon like Milotic, for example, I think we can all agree that fundamentally Milotic is a great Pokemon, but unfortunately even there, it's not that good anymore. It hasn't been overused at all in the 4th generation, though it was always fairly close, and Generation 5 doesn't seem to be any more kind to it, especially because of the fact that we got a few new bulky waters, especially Borincaru. And another thing I like about the water type is that Ice Beam is almost universal on these guys. There probably is a water type that doesn't learn Ice Beam somewhere, but off the top of my head, I can't think of one. And by the way, just a friendly reminder, even though I talked about it at great length in previous LPs, Azrael is a normal type. God knows why they did it that way, but it's a normal type. It's not a water type at all. But yeah, there's also the fact that waters have critical super effectives against the likes of rock and ground and fire as well. All very good attacking types, so water trumping all those types at once really makes it a very sought-after type. And as I said, there's also Ice Beam to take care of some weaknesses, such as grass, for example. So yeah, it's not for no reason that the whole bulky water archetype has been around for so long. It's really because that concept is that good. There aren't many things a good water type can't deal with. Once again, this is before factoring in that whole drizzle problem we're having right now, because let's face it, on top of that, rain is definitely the best weather out there on equal conditions. That being that there are permanent weather inducers for every type of weather. Rain is definitely the best for the simple reason that you've got many abilities that can use rain in really cheap ways. For example, you got Swift Swim, which doubles the Pokemon speed. You got Hydration, which allows you to have full instant recovery with rest. Thank you very much. And on top of that, it also provides sort of immunity to various statuses. Of course, it all hinges on your opponent's own weather not being in play, if he even has weather of his own. But other than that, rain is theoretically the best, because on top of all those abilities, nearly all of the Pokemon that have them, except for some odd exceptions like Dream World Armaldo, they all get double stab on their water attacks because of their freeze hacks. Well, it was sure to show up at some point given the frequency at which I'm using Ice Beam. But what was I saying again? Oh yeah, double stab on water types, especially those with Swift Swim and Hydration, and that's something no other weather can really provide. I mean, Sandstorm does provide that neat special defense boost to rock types, but most rock types don't get another benefit from Sandstorm. It's just that. And most of the really good Sandstorm abusers are not of the rock type to begin with. We got Doryuzu, which gets its speed doubled, but nothing else, no power increase, thank fucking God, because as it is right now, there's already uber talk about this thing. Then we get Landross, who gets a 30% power boost to ground and rock, which is still not nothing, but it still comes nowhere close to the cheesiness of Swift Swim Sweepers. And also we got Garchomp with 20% evasion. I would mention Gliscor, but barely anyone uses Sandvale Gliscor anymore because everyone's using Poison Heal, and for good reason. That set is awesome. Whoops, seems like I trapped myself in there. Just press that switch. But yeah, it's so awesome I can understand why no one uses Sandvale anymore. And so yeah, basically none of the sand or sun abusers can cheese their weather anywhere near as well as Swift Swim Sweepers or Hydration users. So that's why I think, well, once we solve the current problem with Drizzle, everything should fall into place pretty quickly from now on. We might need to get rid of Doryuzu, maybe, but other than that, I'm not sure we're gonna have that much trouble dealing with non-rain weathers. Heck, rain is so good, it might even remain viable if the Dam Proc becomes popular. It was actually fairly good in the last generation, but then again, it's got much stiffer competition to deal with this generation. And I promised myself that I wouldn't talk about Drizzle too much, but hey, you gotta understand, it's all people are talking about when it comes to the suspect test right now. There's literally nothing else than rain, and sand as well, because the only real way to slow down rain is by having your own weather up, and since sand so far is second best, even ahead of sun, which was long thought to be the second best weather out there. And by the way, that switch I just made may sound odd, but I'm not too confident in my odds of two-hit KOing that Golduck with Bite, so I go with the Togetic instead. And by the way, the Golduck used Confusion, as it does again right now. And just a reminder, since there are many people who seem to think Psyduck and Golduck are water psychic, they're not. They're actually pure water. And God knows why, because this whole thing about Psyduck using psychic powers when it's got a headache, well, that's basically the entire point of the Golduck character, so to speak. So why it's not a psychic type, I have absolutely no idea. They really fucked up on that one. And I think I've beaten every last underling in this place, so there's only one thing left to do now, and that is Crash or Wave. Whatever the fuck this joke means. So see you next time for Gym Battle number 5.